Hello, this is Lloyd Hopkins, founder and executive director of Million Dollar Teacher Project, and you are back inside the Teacher's Lounge. Let's get right back to it. Another point that you brought up that I think is so important to and again, I've never lived anywhere else. I've only lived in America. I know in America is very much a capitalistic society, and we're really driven by how much money we can make, and the way we kind of live our lives is make as much money as you can and then have it buried all on you, and end of story. In the reality, you can't take it with you. And so much of our life should be more about the experiences, and I feel like we should be taught to chase our passions instead of chasing money. And because I think it's possible, and I think we're testaments to it, that you can make money and you can carve out a living for yourself doing what you're passionate about, doing what you love. And I think we should be taught more how to do that, how to connect your passion to finance, how to connect your passion to a career, and those type of things, because it's a much more fulfilling life. Again, like you just said, when you're able to wake up feeling fulfilled, and understanding that you don't have to be a millionaire to live a fulfilled, enjoyable life. So people also have to figure out their dollar amount. I think there's a study that says you only need to make like $100,000 a year, or maybe it's 75. I can't remember. It's like between 75 and like $125,000 a year. That's all you need to make, and to live a quality life. And what that means is be able to take at least one vacation a year. You're not stressing about your bills. You can invest and put money away for your kids' college. So I think it's more important for us to be taught about our passions, figure out our dollar amount on how much money we really need to live the type of life that we want to live, and then find ourselves in the middle of that. And I know you have $1 million taste, so your budget may be a little different than mine. So, but I think that's just a great point. Now, so talk to me a little bit about the balance of that, though. The fact that I feel our society exploits teachers' commitment to our kids. It exploits your passion, because if we expect that passion to keep you in the classroom forever, like, that's just not a reality. And that's why we lose most new teachers. I think like 60% of new teachers after 3 years, just as you're getting good at this. And what I want to see is us stop exploiting that. Like we kind of guilt trip you into the fact that, well, you're supposed to be a teacher. You're not supposed to be doing this for the money. But again, we don't tell that to athletes. We don't look at athletes like, you're supposed to just care about football, basketball, baseball, hockey, whatever. Why do I need to pay you $1 million? We don't look at them this way. So how do you balance that? What's your take on that? Do you think it's fair to have to balance that? And again, maybe I'm off base. I'm just a bleeding heart teacher fan. What do you feel? How do you feel about that?
So, of course, we appreciate you and people like you, because it is important to understand that there is a bigger picture as a teacher. We do have to live and we do have to survive. And Lloyd, behind the scenes, we've had this conversation several times. The starting salary for teachers is, I think most people can agree, is ridiculous, because there's no other career that somebody walks into with the degree in education we're expected to have to get paid what we get paid. I know.
And not to cut you off, but the state of Arizona, just for folks watching this, because not everybody's gonna be researched. In the state of Arizona, I think the average teacher salary is like around $45,000 a year, if I'm not mistaken. Mm-hmm. And like you said, that's with a master's degree. And where you could go into another profession and make oodles and boodles of money, and in the teaching profession, you're taking a pay cut.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's an expectation of education. And that is disheartening, to think that we're expected to come to the table with that type of education, but not be compensated for it. And then, like you said, to put in years and years, and the incremental increases are not sufficient either to even say, okay, fine, I start at 45, but in 3 years I'll make 75 possibly. I think that would change things as well, but that's not the case. If you start at 45, in 3 years you're making maybe 47, 48. So the increases are not even there. With that said, there are opportunities to increase your salary. There are, and I like to have that conversation because I don't want people, and especially teachers who are doing better, to say, well, what about this and what about that? Because there are opportunities. And I think I've taken advantage of a lot of those, which is why I think I'm a little more comfortable than a lot of other teachers are. However, that's something that I chose to do. And honestly, as a teacher, I do believe that you should walk in the door and live a comfortable life. And if you choose to do more, then that option is there for you. You shouldn't have to. And I equate a lot of times to doctors. They walk into their job and they don't have to worry about, a base salary. Everybody agrees this is what they're worth. And there are opportunities for them too to make more money. And I'm sure that the doctors who choose to do it take advantage of that, and the ones who don't live a comfortable lifestyle. On top of not having to buy Band-Aids and syringes and all the things that they need to do their everyday job. It's not expected of them, and it's expected of us. So those things are disheartening. Again, as I said before, there's going to be a lot of disheartening things I can say about education. And I wish everybody would understand that, because if people truly took the time to understand that we are passionate, of course, that we do love children, of course, we still have to survive, and we want to be appreciated. And I don't know how to make people understand that, because even as a teacher on a day-to-day basis, when I tell people I'm teacher, they're like, oh my gosh, that's so sweet. That shouldn't be, it should be admirable. It should be, oh my gosh, thank you for what you do. And I'm not sitting here begging for any kind of recognition, but I think in part, that's the problem. Like, that's how we are looked at,
And I'll say it for you. You should be celebrated. You don't have to say. You should be humble, and you should be. I'm here to say a teacher should be celebrated. And again, you're exactly right on so many fronts. Especially from the standpoint, I mean, there's so many ways I can go with it. So the first thing I'll say is that we're not here to bash education. We're not here to bash the teaching profession. These conversations are here to enlighten people. We think it's important for people to understand the challenges so they can participate in the solutions. And one of the true byproducts of this podcast is people having a deeper understanding of a day in the life of a teacher and the inequities that exist in how we treat our teachers, that puts people in a better position to act and be a part of the solution. So that's 100% what this is about. So I value the importance of education. I value the importance of our public education system and just schools in general. So this is really about how do we strengthen this offering. And again, for me, I think it starts with the teacher. I think if we want to have happy, healthy, whole students, we have to have happy, healthy, whole kids. If we want to have healthy communities, we have to have healthy schools. If we want to have healthy schools, we have to have a healthy teaching profession. We entrust our children. People are entrusting their kids with you. And I think that's a part that people don't recognize, is that I'm entrusting my child with this person. I probably want to make sure that she's well-resourced, she's rested, she's not stressed out, she's paid well, and she's excited to be here.
And supported. Yes,
and supported. Because that's the person I want to hand my baby off to. I have 2 kids. And I'm talking from a parent. Like, I have 2 kids, and we entrust teachers with our most precious assets. And we have to understand that it's a partnership. We can't just dump our students in Monica Baird's classroom and then run off and not communicate with her, not understand how we can work together, how we can collaborate. So what we're hoping is that because we need teachers and we need more Monica Baird. So I don't want this to I don't want anybody to interpret this as all the woe is me in the teaching profession, but there are challenges. So what I'm hoping is that not only do you inspire more teachers, but we also inspire more collaborators. We inspire more parents, more partners that say, okay, there's great teachers out here. How can I be a part of helping address the workload? How can I be a part of helping them get compensated better? So one thing you said is that as soon as you walked into that special education classroom, well, so back up a little bit. So you said that as soon as your sister suggested teaching, you went out and started teaching. So did you already have your cert or your certificate at that point, or were you teaching assisting, or?
I got a substitute certificate.
Substitute certificate.
Yeah.
Okay.
So with my degree, I was able to walk into ABE and get a sub certificate.
Awesome. Which is a pathway, you know, for folks, and I feel like that's a reasonable pathway to at least start exploring.
Yes. And it was a perfect opportunity for me, because I think a lot of times people just assume. I thought I wanted to teach preschool. That's what I thought. And when I got into the preschool classroom, I realized, yeah, this is not for me. It was fun and exciting. But every time I walked into a SPED classroom, I don't care what grade level it was, that's just where my heart lit up. So I knew that's where I wanted to be. And then I focused more on taking those opportunities so that I really knew what grade level I wanted to be at. And I settled at 5th and 6th grade, 4th, 5th, and 6th. But it was perfect for me to do it as a sub. So if there's somebody listening and you're considering it, I would recommend that a sub certificate in subbing for 1 year would be an amazing way to go about it, because you're able to experience every aspect of a classroom and every aspect of different teachers' classrooms with different styles and different behaviors. It was just eye-opening to get that type of information for myself to be able to make an educated decision.
Yeah. And we try to manufacture some of that through our classroom support team. Yes. It's all about giving these kids, high school, college kids, exposure. So one, we can create more informed, prepared teachers, and two, really talk some people out of going into the profession. Yeah. You know? And we wanted to give them this experience so they can really explore it and see if this is the right fit for them. So what was it about special ed specifically? Was there a personal backstory, or what was it about that environment that just spoke to you? Because I was in my intro, I told everybody that I worked in education, and I worked in a special education classroom for about 2 years of that. And I'm gonna be honest, it was trying. You know, I learned so much about myself in there. I learned that I'm not patient, you know, because you have to be immensely patient, you know, to work through those different challenges and things that you present. And that was one of the biggest eye openers for me on why I felt I wouldn't be a good teacher, you know. So I learned a lot, you know, and with working in an environment with unique challenges. So what was it about that environment that spoke to you?
There's no words to explain that. It wasn't that I walked in and I saw this, or I walked in and, you know, it was just a feeling. I guess like when they say you find the right person and you see them and you're just like, oh my gosh, there's just something. There was just something every time I walked into a SPED classroom that it just felt like this is what I'm supposed to be doing with my life. It felt right. It came naturally. The students appreciated everything that I did. And that was early on when I had no idea what I was doing. So I just thought once I got a true understanding of how to teach these students, the impact I would have. And that definitely motivated me to continue, because, you know, walking in as a substitute, they're not truly your students. I think every person in America should have to substitute so they can appreciate education before you do anything else in your life. But walking into as a substitute, it's just different dynamics. Even now that I'm a teacher, I don't experience the dynamics that I did when I was a substitute. But to walk into a classroom and be able to take control of it, no matter what the situation is, and it's definitely different in a special education classroom, and be able to have an impact in one sitting with a group of students, it changed my heart. And I just knew that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to have that feeling every day.
Wow. And I agree. I think everybody should do a year of service in some shape, form, or fashion. I think it would radically change this country. Everybody, and again, that year of service could be you doing AmeriCorps, it could be you doing Army, it could be doing Peace Corps, it could be doing the reserves, it could be being a substitute teacher for a year, being a teaching assistant for a year. Everybody should have to do some form of service for a year right after high school.